Hello, everyone. This is Ruslan Akhmedyanov, Cometa software developer relations person. I would say team lead, but there is like so small team that I just say I'm general person. And today I'm happy to see you everyone at our first online event like from Cometa software. And our first guests are QA engineers from Miro, Balazs Galatz, and Robin Huan, who has turned off his camera, I believe, because of like technical issues. So he'll be back soon. Stay tuned. And we have started our recording. And the first thing, so today we are going to discuss the way Allure TestOps helps engineers to build automation, to build like TestOps actually, not the product, but the approach. And we'll see how Miro actually does their testing. As far as I know, the product, it's quite complex. It works worldwide, but I believe that you guys will tell much better and like much more about the Miro. Let's start. Like Balazs or Robin, just jump in and tell us what is Miro and how does Miro testing look like?
Okay, let me jump in. I can answer your question. So, yeah, Miro is the word product now. So, over 30 million users. So a lot.
That's a lot.
And we do have a white canvas basically. So it's like a place where people can do whatever they like. So we can drag, sticky notes. We can put messages. We can drive and draw some lines or arrows or whatever we like. And in order to test it, we are using our own test tooling for that we prepared internally in Miro, which is basically doing some partial screen comparison and so on. So we have expectations and we then catch what's on the screen. And every test case, which is developed by this tool that we developed, so it's basically connected to Allure, and all the CIs and all the jobs which execute these are also connected to Allure, and that's how we make it round. And of course, this is one direction, so it's okay. We run the tests, we execute them, then we get success or failure. This gets into Allure TestOps, but then we need to somehow notify people about the results, and we have also written some Slack message handlers and also some other plugins which integrate into our code repository, just to have some votes for people who make pull requests. I didn't say, but so we are talking about approximately 2,400 test cases, and these are executed for every pull request and also after every merge. And there are approximately like 100 or maybe 200 pull requests every day. So it's pretty lots of executions.
So speaking of your team, actually, well, I am aware, of course, but I believe that nobody from like the audience know how many people actually work in Miro and how many engineers work in Miro, and maybe how many like testing engineers, like doesn't matter if they're manual testers, exploratory testers, automated, like automation QA engineers. How many of those folks work, and how do you actually live together? I just want to start with something like lighter, because I feel like, Balazs, you are going to
technically
just to drop down to the very technical stuff and show everyone what you showed me. But I think that we just take a couple of minutes just to get more of a larger picture about Miro. Thank you.
Yep.
So okay,
Robin, you want to take
this
one?
Sorry, no.
Or I should go with it.
No, you shouldn't
Okay,
go.
I can go with it. I can go with it. And Robin is going to interrupt me if he doesn't like something. So the way it's built up, we have approximately 600 people who are working for development in general for Miro. Out of these, so each of these developers are allowed to write these tests, which I talked. It's also part of their job to write the tests. So it's not only QAs who write tests. It's also part of developers' job to write own tests. I mean, screen comparison is not something that you can really cheat because if the screen doesn't match, it doesn't match. So, but we have a QA guild which consists of approximately 30 or 40 QA people. These QA are the general QA people who are kind of ambassadors for quality and are ambassadors for QA automation as well. So they are the ones who tell developers how to write tests. Maybe they supervise their work, and they are the ones who are kind of responsible if some test cases failed for that specific team. And also they are the ones who propagate our message. So let's say we want to roll out something new, then we ask them to propagate this knowledge and these things to their teams further. And the third one is a small number of people, around 8 or 10 people out of these 50 who are actively contributing to QA automation tooling and processes inside Miro. So they are the ones who don't actively write test cases for the product itself, but they write some testing tools, or they are the ones who install Allure or upgrade Allure or create some process or some plugins for Allure or some other tool that we use.
Okay, so
and I'm working in this team the most. So this core team which is developing this tooling.
So it's like software developers testing, in fact.
Yes.
Like something like this.
Yes.
Okay, so do I get it right that actually it's developers who write tests, and if a developer produces a pull request without tests, there is a QA guild which comes to get his head and then just write the test, man. Or gal.
Yeah.
So does it work actually like this? Because it sounds quite like unusual for like from my perspective, as like visiting like testing conferences. I don't hear such stories often, really. So usually it's like QA team which tries to put some tests, and our like usual story is like a QA team tries to build some testing, to put some tests, and then nobody cares about the tests created. Your story is completely different.
I jump into here that in 6 phases here, I say that 5 of you guys, I seems like know you guys. Sergey, or I don't know, Daria somewhere. I see you maybe during some call, and then I really don't know Maxim, but maybe it's first time I know you here. Oh, I want to rephrase. We can in a meeting way here, right? We can rephrase this way. We want engineers to think quality during coding. So why people need to think the quality is a part of the QA's job is because you always heard that some QA gonna write, I'm gonna write the test cases for you. He gonna write test cases for you. But finally, maybe once the team's organization or structure has been changed, this test case is gonna lost the maintenance. So if the test case is gonna create it together with a code, then it means we're gonna have a same SDLC or software development lifecycle for testing and the development. But it's not saying that we don't do anything. We are not saying that, but we are empower or enable people to do their things more efficient, right?
So don't you face actually any problems with newcomers into the development team who are like used to the legacy approach when a developer like writes some code? Sometimes it's covered with a couple of unit tests, maybe like a little bit covered, or like 50% covered, and that's fine. And then they're like, you guys are really doing that stuff? How do you actually like take how do you make this culture fit? I believe that this is some kind of a recruiting level stuff. Or you just teach people inside the team. So you just grab a developer, which is like an amazing engineer, but he doesn't like fit in your processes. And then you just show the person that tests are actually important.
I try to answer this question, but Balazs also can correct me here. Let's say every developers are writing unit test.
Yep.
Am I right? Yes. So what's the differences between writing the unit test, integration test, or even contract test, or whatever end-to-end test cases? It's because people feels that to write end-to-end test cases or other or contract tests are super complicated than writing the unit test. Then they think, okay, it may be just a job for a group of other people. But however, if you make the two as similar as writing unit test cases, and then let them don't feel a lot of differences when they're writing the tests, then they can just pick it up directly when they join the company. In the meantime, let's imagine that other people, maybe Balazs, you can continue. I see the ring bell again from my side.
Well, I don't hear the ring bells.
No, yeah,
sounds
you don't hear okay.
We can hear you well.
Right, and also let's imagine that we should have a very well documentation for us, and people should learn it by themselves. I heard some companies also have something like a QA academic, like a one day that for 1 month that all of guys join together. For us, we don't have that yet, but we really prefer that one day we can have this kind of QA days for everyone that we can learn QA together. Yeah.
Yep. Maybe let me add one comment here.
Of course.
So so we talked about like 600 developers and 50 QAs. So that means that there is one QA for every 10 developers approximately, or 12 developers. So that means that this QA who is part of this team of developers, this person, if he has the mindset, he's the one who can educate the rest of the developers. And if then this is difficult to do in the first place, because you need to educate these people in the first hand, like what is it, how it needs to be used, and what you need to do to make sure that your development is well tested. But after a while, if these 10 developers learned it, and let's say 6 of them know it, then if there is some new joiner to the team, then it's not a task for QA anymore, because the knowledge has been spread, and then anyone else can teach new joiners.
Yeah, so sounds legit, absolutely. Thank you. So, and we're talking for 12 minutes already, so let's start going to the next question. And the next question is about, like, you actually told us that you've got 2,400 tests, and I already know that you're like adding about like 100 tests a week or something, or a month to your like base of test cases, and you are running it for each pull request. So, and you've got a couple of hundreds of engineers. So that means there is a lot of pull requests and a lot of test runs. Now, could you tell me a little bit more about how did you make all this pass from, like, this sounds like a lot of work, a lot of testing and a lot of test runs, a lot of infrastructure involved. Maybe you could just tell us more about this like part of your job, and then just maybe a little bit, just tell us what happened before, maybe like half a year ago, or like a couple of years ago, from what you've been starting. And I'm like asking this question because I've been one of the people at Kamata Software. So when we were developing like a TestOps guide for everyone, and then we made a couple of talks about this. And in your case, I believe that that's kind of an opportunity for me to see if that guide actually works, because like, well, what did you have a couple of years ago? Then you put a lot of effort and like invested in processes. and testing. So, and you got what you've got, and just show us this.
Okay, so maybe I start from the reverse order. So what we had a couple of years ago. So
okay.
So a couple of years ago, we had the classical setup. What you say, like that there was production code in one repository. There was end-to-end UI test code in another repository. So one was written with Java, the other was one was written with TypeScript, the other was written with Java, and then there was all sort of infrastructure in the middle, like to support this testing with the Selenium-based approach than Java WebDriver. So and when these tests were running, then we used the standalone Allure installation, or I think that's the name of that thing. So which generated the report out of this XML that gets created in the test folder. But we needed to have one central place where all the tests were running, to have the XML file, which eventually is going to produce the Allure report at the end. So we didn't have Jenkins, and we didn't have any CI tool back then. So we had one big machine which was running like 20 to 30 UI test cases in parallel in Java. So you can imagine it was the biggest machine that's available in Amazon, and it was still not enough for us, especially considering the growth that we have. And also we had, so the question was like, okay, we execute now this test, and then in some post step, this Allure report gets generated. But what do we do with this Allure report? So how does people know that is his pull request safe to merge or not? So, and then we had some complex and complicated processes to parse these Allure reports, just to find out like what's the percentage of pass, what's the failure ratio. But it still was pretty complicated to get, like, is this a flaky test, or is this something which breaks? So does it make sense to rerun my tests? Am I expecting to get some other results, or it's going to produce the same? So then this Allure TestOps was introduced, and then these two things were running in parallel. So Allure TestOps was already getting this data still on this big machine, but at least it was sent to Allure, and then Allure was generating the report. So at least we could remove one report generation from our machine. And then we realized that we run out of disk all the time, because people are writing more and more tests, more and more Allure reports get generated. So we need to constantly delete the disk for all the old test cases. And then by old, I mean tests which run a week ago, because we are talking about such intense numbers and intense work. So then we decided to switch and delete completely the old approach of using Allure report generated from the XML file, this HTML report, or how was it called? So after introducing this change, we focused on, okay, but we need to make our pipelines scalable. So it's having one machine which executes all the tasks is not good. So then we decided to go with a different approach, to switch from Java and WebDriver to TypeScript and Playwright frameworks. But then also, if now we have the same language, and also it makes sense to put these tests inside the same repository where the production code is. So now the tests and the production code are both in the same repository, and they are all written with TypeScript in this case. So that enables people, developers, who want to contribute to the Miro frontend, for example, that they can find all the tooling necessary in the repository. They don't need to go some other places. They can add right away the end-to-end UI tests for their pull requests, and it's going to be executed, and it's going to produce a report. So it's something that we can validate, and some automatic way of blocking the PR if his pull request breaks something else. So it's not something which going to happen during the night. It's going to happen automatically. So this by doing this change and in the meantime, because of the COVID lockdowns and people using Miro and more and more developers being hired, so the limits were reached again pretty quickly, because we had like 40 tests executed a day until that moment, and then suddenly it jumped to, I don't know, 200 or 500. Let's say some numbers. So we needed to do some more fine tuning here and there. So we ended up splitting our test jobs into multiple parts and doing all sort of magic inside Jenkins just to parallelize as much as we can our test executions. And just let me here maybe share my screen and just to show you what's the state where we are now. Just if we go into these details, so we have if I go and show you, we have lots of projects in Allure TestOps, and each of them is being populated from a Jenkins job which is running. So if you see here, this one is the biggest one, are the client, so the front-end end-to-end UI tests, and we are talking about 2,438 test cases. I remembered when you sent me this formula about how much test cases we have. This was still 2,000, I think. And you see the number of launches which is here. So it's a pretty big number. And so all these projects are then populated by a Jenkins that we have. Well, actually multiple Jenkinses, and all these have a separate test job which is going to send the data to this Allure TestOps report. And then to make the picture complete, let me show you a pull request of somebody. So this guy wanted to add some parameters to some place in his pull request, and he is not allowed to merge his changes until all the end-to-end tests, the existing end-to-end tests plus the ones that he wrote, can pass. So we created here a Bitbucket plugin, which eventually is gonna fetch all the data from Allure that belong to this pull request. And then if this 2,213 plus this 24 plus this 13 plus all the other numbers of tests pass, that's the only place when he's able to merge. So in that case, he can press the button. And all this data that you can see here is coming from Allure TestOps. And also we have some other places and some other communication channels where we can kind of use Allure's capabilities to identify flaky tests, and also we can encourage people to work on these flaky tests to make test cases more stable for the future.
Yeah, great. Actually, the thing you've shown in the Bitbucket actually looks like a perfect quality gate, because I've just a couple of weeks ago I made some kind of quite easy to listen talk about quality gates, which was like, please everyone, don't think that quality gate is a meeting, and it's not a checklist or a meeting. In our world in 2022, it should be an automated system that checks everything by itself on specific triggers and so on. So that actually looks like what I've been talking about, and that looks great. So, and when you say about so if something fails, like if this quality gate shows a couple of failed tests, and the tests are actually touching, these are not the tests which belong to the developer who actually tries to merge something. So how does the process works actually? So do some engineers get an alert, or they just or the system tells me, okay, so just solve these problems and then we'll try again?
Let me share my screen, and then I can answer you this question much more easier. So in case every test that we have in Allure. So let me go to some of these tests. For example, this test case. Just I'm gonna pick this one. Doesn't I hope it shows. We have fields here on the right side of the test, and among these fields we have the owner of this test, and this is actually a Slack channel. So what we do is if there is some error in the test case, then if we are talking about pull requests, then we don't really have any automatism to notify other people. But in case of somebody who merged already his pull request, then all the tests are going to run again, just to avoid merging conflicts and merge problems. And in this case, this means that people who merged, they were having their tests green. And also the master before merge was also green. But suddenly after the merge, the master is not green anymore. So in this case, we're going to notify, we have an automatic way of notifying the owner of the test case who broke to find out what's the reason. I mean, if it was green and the pull request was also green, then there is probably some merge conflict or some Git branching problem. And then this owner is the one who is going to have a look on it and is the one who is going to fix that.
Two more questions. The one we've just actually missed. You just said that you are writing your tests in TypeScript, and as far as I understand, it's Jest. And we found out that Allure TestOps, while having like 50 plus integrations for various testing tools and frameworks, well, we didn't possess the Jest for TypeScript integration. So maybe you just could tell us the story of how you've been building your own adapter for Allure, because I believe that's kind of an interesting story.
Okay. Well, yeah, it was interesting indeed, and that's a nice expression to tell. So yeah, so basically we had as I told you before, there was a Java and TestNG which was running before, and you do have this integration with TestNG and Java. So that was something which was working pretty well, but at the moment we realized that there is no such integration for Jest. We were a little bit like worried, like what we're gonna do. But then we realized that it's not that rocket science. Is just, you know, we need to implement the listeners in Jest to handle these Allure thingies. On the one hand, just to be able to produce the report. And on the other hand, we need to do some parsing and some filtering of test cases to be able to rerun those things that get selected on Allure EE. So because we have, you know, integrated Allure TestOps with Jenkins, but there was no way to do these selective reruns for the test cases. So let's say only one, you wanted to rerun only the failed ones because you expected that maybe rerunning it would have. So we didn't have an implementation. But then, you know, we realized what the TestNG plugin is doing. Then we kind of realized how the plugins are configured and what hooks they need to do, and then we ended up implementing it. Actually, Robin was one of the big contributors to this Jest plugin. He's just being very shy.
So what are your like?
We need to write so unfortunately we need to write the most of things from scratch. That we need to understand what is Jest circles. We need to understand how Jest hooks or all of this Jest environments works, and then write our internal Jest environments and Jest circles, how to compatible with that. I would like to share also one of my screen here is very interested, but it's not created by me. It's created by other teammates. Maybe you guys all remember that one of the feature from Allure TestOps provided is to generate the Allure ID in the IntelliJ. all of you guys have this plugins that you say, oh, right click on a test and then you generate the Allure ID. But however, for TypeScript, there is no one going to use the IntelliJ. At least for most of people, they don't use IntelliJ, but use a VS Code.
Yep.
However, we don't have these plugins. Unfortunately, we don't have these plugins. So we put everything by a command. So we wrapped all our internal tools, one of the front-end internal tools into this wrap tool called the Spectator, which is on top of the Playwright. And based on this tool, then we have a lot of chances to create our own customized command line tools that developers can directly use these tools to generate their Allure ID. So this is how we resolve the problems. Like if people install this tool in Spectator instead of their project, they can directly put Spectator, generate the Allure ID, and then put which file you want to generate it.
Yeah.
We're going to automatically recognize, okay, this file, this test cases has the Allure ID, or another test case doesn't have Allure ID, and then generate the Allure ID for your test automatically, and also put this Allure ID inside of your code. So it's like a parser. Not only the parser, but also dynamically change your code and add this Allure ID to your test files, similar like plugins. But however, we have a lot of other toolings, like we have Telescope, which is also built on top of the Allure TestOps, which is for monitoring the statistics of the testing. We also maybe have this kind of Miro, and which is also the API test to support the API test, and which is also built on top of that based on the Allure TestOps, that we have some CAR tools to support Allure TestOps. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. That looks like a lot of work, which looks great. So, and at this amazing note, I would just ask one more question for you. Like, again, I just wanted to thank you for all these words about Allure TestOps, and it's like, for me, it's really interesting to see how it actually works in production. As I see a lot of demos, I see a lot of like troubles and issues in our help desk, but seeing like all this system huge with a lot of test cases running from time to time, like every minute, as we have seen, it's great. But the next question for you, and I believe Robin, it's for you on like in the first place, what are your plans in terms of like engineering team, QA team, in terms of tools? What are you going and expecting to implement next, or like in half a year, maybe? Just.
It's a really great question. It's just a time for our OKR planning next week. So it's a question I need to answer for all of these stats guys. So first, two things come into my mind. First is stability. We have a lot of tools, like our customized tool, Spectator, Miro, Telescope, or even the Allure TestOps or other tools. We need to ensure that all of these tools are very stable, and to reach the operational success, it means we have enough observability to understand, oh, this tool is working, this tool it doesn't work, and have alert, have a message to let us to make a correct decision. Second one is scalability. We suffered these problems in past 2 years because we have super big growth, that from 100 to 400 in very fast speed. So it means all our development in the future development, we should ask everyone to have this proper design at first, and to make all our future tools become scalable, and also to refactor our existing tools to make them already become scalable. But however, this kind of tool objective is maybe for a little bit long term, right? Maybe it's not just for 3 months, but 6 months or even 1 year or 2 years, because all our contribution is to make a stability and a scalability for QA and enable the quality assurance works instead of Miro. Hopefully I answer your question.
Yeah, that's great. And what about your team? So, so is your team growing, or you're like, okay, we're doing now some scalability job, and then we'll start hiring more, but now that's a lot of people here already. So
No, our team is still hiring currently. We are hiring 3 Einstein and 1 in engineering manager, because I saw you guys here, right? To be honest, some guys already did the interview with me, and some guys are in another path, and some guys in different situations. So we are still hiring. The biggest part is our co-admission team, 2 parts. First part is framework and CI. Maybe you guys know that when explained during the interview somewhere. Another part is performance. So we would like to grow in these 2 parts, and framework and performance, to ensure that both can grow healthy and grows in a correct way, in the right direction. Yes, definitely we are hiring.
Yeah, great. So Balazs, maybe you would add something to the plans of your team, maybe?
I think we're gonna upgrade from Allure 3 to Allure 4.
Oh yeah, that's great. Actually, Allure 4 has a lot of like improvements, and I hope you just upgrade not to Allure 4.0, but to 4.7 or 9. It's like there is a lot of releases since you haven't updated your Allure. So yes, keep your Allure updated. And
yep, but you know, we need to be very, very careful, because we have thousands of tests, and we have reached 400 gigabytes of of test results already. So I wonder if there is some migration script, then we need to be very careful running it. So it's gonna need some.
So as far as I understand, we've got TestOps to TestOps migration like tools. So that's not going to be a problem. But also, as far as I know, so upgrading from 3rd to 4th is not just like, it's not a minor release. There are some like major changes in the Allure TestOps system. So yeah, you are absolutely doing, well, you're doing the right job being concerned about like migrating carefully.
But you guys still have questions, or?
Oh yeah, Maxim, Daria, Sergey, maybe.
I really want to say,
yeah.
Your questions, because I know you guys just come here. That I know you guys, so maybe you really bring some questions.
Maybe I have a question, but I'm not sure if it's completely related to Allure TestOps.
You may ask the questions which is not related to Allure TestOps. You know, I'm not gonna kick you out of the meeting, of course. So that's fine.
No, I just was wondering, because you run a lot of front-end tests. How does it look from infrastructure side? Yeah. Do you have a remote grid, or do you run on the same machine with the browser?
Yes. Well, so it's not. We are using EC2 plugins into our Jenkins pipelines. So which means that if there is not enough machines, then this EC2 is gonna just simply allocate 1 machine for us in Amazon. So as long as Miro has the money, we can still boost our execution. Problems is gonna come if Miro will not have the money, and we are gonna be limited to like a couple of hundreds of machines. So right now, all these tests and all these numbers of end-to-end tests and UI tests that you saw require around 1,000 machines to be there in parallel and be connected to one of our Jenkins instances as a stave node. So it's a lot, but at least we can this way we can finish these 2,400 test cases still, with all the installation and yarn setup and the git clone and all the other commands that are needed within approximately 20 minutes. So this is the price to pay for fast results.
Thanks.
And like at this point, I just want to thank everyone. It was interesting for me. I hope that it was interesting for you. Like, raise your hand if it was. And guys, I hope you loved it. That Balazs, Robin, thank you again.